Now we're going to learn how to convert fractions to decimals without the use of a calculator. It turns out that it isn't quite as hard as you might believe it is. The main thing to remember is that the fraction bar represents division. As such, to convert a fraction to a decimal, we just divide. So you want to remember that anytime you convert a fraction to a decimal, we're just going to divide the numerator by the denominator, so top divided by bottom. So just remember top divided by bottom. To help with this, since we won't be using a calculator, instead we're going to use long division. And long division relies on a device called a tableau. You've probably already seen this. You've probably done long division before and you've probably seen this, so I think this will be fairly familiar to most of you. Anyway, it will turn out sometimes that we will get repeating decimals. And when that happens, we just put a bar over the repeating part. We'll deal with that shortly. In the meantime, let's take a look at a basic example of how this is going to work. First off, before I get to the examples that you see in your Emporium workbook, I'll show you an example of what I mean by numerator over denominator or top divided by bottom. If we have a basic fraction like, say, 3/5, all I have to do is set up a tableau, and the bottom will go on the outside. And I'll just set up my bar here. We put 3 there. 5 doesn't go into 3, so we're going to need another 0 here. So we'll just put a decimal point and a 0. 5 goes into 30 6 times, and 6 times 5 is 30, so subtract 30 and you get 0. Very easy, should be pretty familiar to most of you. Our first example in your workbook is a little more complicated, but it works on the same basic principle. So we're going to take 32 and divide it into 7. Notice the bottom always goes on the outside and the top always goes on the inside. Now this does make the problem appear more difficult, but first off, we really don't have a choice. And second, you're going to discover that once you get into the rhythm of this, it's actually surprisingly easy. Anyway, again, here 32 doesn't go into 7, but it does go into 70. So I'm going to do the same thing, add another 0 here. 32 goes into 70 twice. If you ever want to check that, of course, you can just multiply. I like to multiply anything that looks like it'll come up here, just so that I'm prepared. Well, we see that 32 times 2 is 64, so if I put 2 here, we'll have 64 down here. I will simply subtract, and 70 minus 64, not very difficult, we see that's 6. I'll bring down another 0. Well, 64 is too big, so we can't have 2 up here. We need a number smaller than 2. Well, the logical one is just to use 1. So 1 times 32 is 32. So we'll just take 60 and subtract 32. That comes out to 28. And now I'll bring down another 0 here. Oh, I don't want a 0 up top though. Let's erase that. That was a mistake. We want our 0 under our little bar in the tableau. Anyway, so we need to figure out how many times 32 goes into 280. One thing that helps me out a lot, I'll look at the first digits of each, or I should say all but the last digit. So we know 3 goes into 28 9 times. Let's try 32 times 9 and see if that gets us anywhere. Well, you can do 32 by 9 without much difficulty, and you'll see that it comes out to 288, which is too big, so we can't use that. Let's try going down one, 32 times 8. Well, 32 times 8 is 256, and that should work. So we'll just put 8 here. That means 256 goes down here, and so 280 minus 256 is 24. We'll put another, same mistake again. Make sure to put that 0 on the bottom here, not on the top. 32 into 240. Well, if you look here, 256 is too big, so we can't use 8. Let's try 32 times 7. That comes out to 224, which looks about right, so we'll just put 7 there, minus 224. So 240 minus 224 comes out to exactly 16. Again, we'll bring down 0 here. And it turns out that 32 goes into 160 exactly 5 times. If you try multiplying it, you will see 32 times 5 is exactly 160. So subtract 160, and you are all set. And you know that when you get 0 at the end, that means you're done. So our decimal here is 0.21875, and that's that. Now, let's take a look at example 2 here. Example 2 gives us 32 over 99. Ostensibly, that looks quite a bit more difficult, but you'll actually find this problem is much easier. In fact, it's possible to do it in one step. I'll show you how. The first thing you need to know is that there's a certain pattern that comes up if you know how to look for it. Let's take a look at converting another fraction to a decimal. 2/9. So I'm going to put 9 on the outside, yet again, put 2 on the inside because it is on top. Remember, the top always goes on the inside. Again, 9 doesn't go into 2, but 9 does go into 20. So I'll put 0.2 here. 2 times 9 is 18. So we subtract, we get 2. Bring down a 0. 9 goes into 22 times. Subtract 18, we get 2. Bring down a 0. And you can see pretty quickly that we're just going to get 2 over and over and over again. It's not going to stop. So this actually turns out, we call this 0.2 repeating, and we put a little bar over it. And that little bar, the technical term for it is a vinculum, but basically it just means that the number goes on forever. So 0.222222222. You get the idea. Well, as it turns out, that actually is the case for anything with 9 on the bottom. So if I have something like 4/9, 4/9 as it actually comes out to 0.4 repeating. So 0.4444444. 5/9 comes out to 0.5 repeating. 0.5555. And I think you see the pattern here. Well, something interesting happens here. To get 2 digits to repeat, instead of 9, we use 99. So if I have, say, 13 over 99, that's going to be 0.13 repeating. So 0.13131313. And you can kind of see how this is going to tie into our second example. And then the pattern continues. So for 3 digits, if I have, say, 107 over 999, that will just be 0.107, 107, 107, 107, and so forth. Or if I have 23 over 999, that's going to be 0.023023023. Well, you can see how that ties into example 2, because with 32 over 99, we're going to have 0.32 repeating. 0.3232323232. If you know to look for this, you can actually use it to your advantage. So for instance, if I have, say, 9 over 11, and I want to convert that to a decimal, you can divide 11 into 9 if you want to, but it's actually a little quicker and easier to just multiply the top and the bottom of this by 9. And if you do that, you will get 81 over 99. Or if you have something a little more basic, like 2/3, you can turn 3 into 9, so multiply the top and the bottom by 9 here, and you'll see that we get 18, oh wait, no, my mistake. We don't want to multiply by 9, we want to get 9. So actually, we want to multiply the top and the bottom by 3 here. So this would actually come out to 6/9, which is 0.6 repeating, just as this is 0.81 repeating. So we have 0.8181, 0.66666666. And that's really all there is to that. So you can see that if you know to look for that one little cue, it can actually make your life quite a lot easier. So practice both of these kinds of problems a little bit, and I think you'll surprise yourself by how quick and easy they really are. Good luck.